Something has happened here in Dubai. So what happened here is that some dudes did some stuff in a park somewhere here in Dubai, and as a result, FPV is now banned in all parks in the city. So after 4 years of enjoying flying in parks, which for us living in the desert is a considerable luxury, that is all now over and done with. As to what happened to suddenly get FPV banned from parks after 4 years, well, it was a kind of a matter of three things. Two of those things happened within the space of a week. So there was the DJI FPV launch event, and all I know about that thing is that apparently some officials showed up at that event and were not too happy about what they were seeing. Beyond that, I really don't know the specifics or the facts, so I can only speculate. You know, it could be that they might have forgotten a permit here or there that they should have had, which they should have known better in that case. But hey, it could always be a case of maybe an official was just having a bad day or something. I don't know what. I don't know, but the fact is that event happened, and after that event happened, people started getting turned away from the door of that particular park. So people would show up, and the guys at the gate who normally would just let you right on in, they started asking, are you flying FPV? And if you said yes, they would say nope, not allowed, and they would flash a business card of a certain gentleman who works for a certain government department with the mobile number to call if you had any problems. And you wouldn't want to call that mobile number given the title on that business card. Let's just leave it at that. The second thing that happened is that apparently a tourist with a Mavic flying from the same park decided to take it upon himself to fly his Mavic over the busiest and highest profile highway in all of Dubai. And apparently that did not go over very well with the powers that be here. And after much drama, that person was caught, and I do not know exactly what happened to that guy. I hope they find him big time, because he deserves it. But apparently the guy wasn't exactly super polite and apologetic after that. So then a tweet comes out from the official Dubai municipality Twitter account saying very clearly that FPV is no longer allowed in all parks in order to protect the privacy and safety of park visitors. And with that, when the official thing comes out, you know, it's pretty hard to backtrack from that, because a lot of things would have to happen to get officials here to backtrack on an official statement. So I don't know when that's going to get resolved, and part of me doubts that it ever will be. However, there was a third thing that was kind of happening in that park that in my mind also contributed at least as much as these two incidents, if not more. Arguable, but 4 years ago, there was a park, a really giant park here that we discovered was not in any no-fly zones and was largely empty of people many times of the week. So I figured I would rock up at that park with my 5 inches and try and fly there. No one had ever tried flying in the public parks here before. And by that, by public park, I mean the kind of park where you got to pay at the door and you go in and all that. No one had tried that before, so I tried it. So I went in, you know, with my quads, my backpack, and I'm all like, really nervous, if I'm honest, fearful and all that. And I went and I found a spot right at the back that looked really nice, and I set up all my gear and I flew. And it went fine. So then, you know, I did it again the following week. Everything went fine. I did it again the following week. Everything went fine. So I started doing that on the regular. And I did, you know, have the park official guys come up in their little golf cart and stop and inquire what I'm doing, and oh, what are you? And I would show them my little, you know, FPV monitor cam, and we would explain what we're up to. We were way at the back of the park, away from the people. So we explained, yeah, we're not trying to, you know, cause any trouble and stuff. This is what we're doing. We're just playing with these quads. And they looked and they kind of said, all right, fair enough. And they drove away. And since then, FPV has kind of been, I won't say allowed, right? clear distinction. It's been never officially allowed, but it's been unofficially tolerated to a degree in that park. So over time, I would invite guys to come fly with me. They would fly it, they would love it because it was an awesome park. I would explain to them how, you know, where I go, why I choose where I go to fly, and what to do in order to be able to fly there without annoying anyone and getting chucked out of the park and all that stuff. And guys who got it, they got it, and so they started flying, and then those guys would invite other guys, and those guys would show up. So eventually more and more people started, you know, flying in that park, and it was great. And at a certain point, there was a lot of FPV guys, like new guys, showing up in the community and wondering, where can I fly my quad? And a large part of me really didn't want to share any of the spots we've been flying, because all the spots that we've been flying, you know, it takes time to find the spot and figure out, is it safe, is it not safe? And you don't want a spot to get blown by some guy showing up there and causing some drama and stuff like that. So there was a certain reluctance to share any spots, but there were so many new FPV pilots, and some guys convinced me, like, hey, just, you know, why don't we just share and trust people? People are generally good. So I thought, fine. So we shared the location of that park, and we said, look, if you're new, go to that park, go to the back of the park, don't bug anyone, you can probably fly there, no problems. And so people did it, and it was fine. So finally, people had a nice green spot to fly, whether it was for the first time or whether you're an intermediate person or advanced guy just wanting to practice your moves. It was a great park to sit, spend the day, and fly. Lately though, it had gotten to a point where there were so many people flying there that, like, I arrived a couple times and would see FPV quads. I could hear them from a mile away, bunches of them, and there'd be like groups of guys camping here and another group of guys camping there, and quads all over the place. A couple times I went there and there was literally no room for me to fly because all the spots were taken up by other FPV pilots, and, you know, video problems and all that, especially because a lot of the new guys are flying DJI, and DJI doesn't play well with analog unless you jump through several hoops to try and make it even tolerable. But when you get a whole bunch of guys in there, it was just getting to the point where it was too full, and I actually had to stop flying that spot because it was just too much of a hassle. And more and more people kept showing up there, and at some point, I don't know when, it got to the point where guys just started taking the spot for granted and assuming that FPV was allowed there. And there's a big distinction between something being allowed and something being unofficially tolerated based on the condition that don't piss anyone off. Somewhere along the line, that whole distinction got completely confused and ended up in essentially just tons of quads ripping the park at all times, to the point where even I, as a pretty tolerant, like, veteran pilot, and the guy who originally shared this park with everyone and encouraged him to go there, I started thinking, man, you know, this is not going to end well. Like, because at some point, some guy is just going to do something stupid or hurt someone, and it's all going to come crashing down. And I saw some guys doing some pretty dumb stuff there. You know, like, there's some buildings near the park that are outside the park boundaries. There's some bridges nearby there. I saw guys flying these bridges. I saw guys going through the buildings and flying the cranes and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, the writing was, for me, was just kind of on the wall that, like, this is just going to end badly at some point. And lo and behold, it did. You know, I'm kind of happy in a way that it didn't end badly because of something an FPV pilot did. But it's really ironic that what nuked it in the end was some weird combination of, like, holding an event in that park. Because look, when you do events in this place, you've got to have all the signatures and all the everything up the wazoo, and that's just the way it is. Everyone who knows what they're doing in the hobby knows that, and that's why there's not so many official events here. That's why there's not racing in this country, because it's impossible to get all the signatures for it. So I have my doubts as to whether the guys who did the DJI official launch event had all that stuff together. I would love to be proven wrong, but probably not the best spot to have an official unveiling. in the first place, but that's even debatable because it's a pretty park, it's nice, it looks good, but there's much safer spots you could have chosen, you know? Either way, basically, like, DJI guys, in the end, basically destroyed parks forever in this country. But beyond that, flying these 5-inches, and I've flown these 5-inch for years, and I love my 5-inch quads, and they fly gorgeous in this park here. But given my goal, which is just to have fun, and I just want to fly and have fun flying, I just can't help but feeling a little bit paranoid when I'm flying these 5-inch quads. Even when I'm in an empty park like this, I'm aware that they're noisy, and I can feel the weight of this thing. I know if it crashes into something it's not supposed to crash into, it's gonna leave a dent at best. So as much as I love these giant quads, given this whole ban situation, some things are gonna have to change. And for me, one of those things is, like, I am definitely going to the smaller quads because they're quieter, they are lower profile, and I can have just as much fun flying a spot with those things without worrying like I'm flying some killer chainsaw thing. And they're easy to live with, and you know, they hardly ever break and all that stuff, and sub 250, blah blah blah. There's not even a sub 250 law here or anything, but there is in some countries. And you know, I think that's where the future of the hobby is going to go eventually, particularly here, because here in Dubai, now that you are not allowed to fly in parks and you're not allowed to fly in open built-up areas, you're technically not really allowed to fly anywhere, which is bizarre, but that's just the way it is. And if you want to keep flying, you either accept that and work with it and try to figure out a way to make it happen, or you give up. And for me, the next step is shrinking down my quads and keeping a lower profile, and that's going to be a big part of it for me. And I've enjoyed flying these smaller quads. They're great to live with. The other part of it is I'm gonna have to just start protecting the spots. Like the Safa Park thing was a great experiment in sharing with the community and giving people a place to fly, but seeing how it ended up, to me, is, and given where we live, I don't think enough people understand the weirdness of the situation where we live. We live in a country here where, like, first of all, we're all guests. Second of all, like, they talk about innovation and all this great stuff, but if you read the laws are like super strict. So in a strictly legal sense, you're really at a disadvantage and in a gray area and all that kind of stuff. And if you ever get caught doing stuff, the penalties are pretty nasty. So that's why you might call me an old friggin' grumpy flyer or something, but that's not really the way I see it. The way I see it is to continue enjoying the hobby successfully, you just got to do certain things to not piss people off. And part of that is lowering my own profile, and the second part of that, I think, is you've got to be really careful with the spots, because you know, when too many people start flying a spot, it's just statistics. You attract more attention, and the chances of something going wrong are just higher. And that's really gonna suck for the new pilots who are just learning how to fly. But all I can say is, well, hey, guess what? I did it, a whole bunch of other guys did it. We started off in deserts and fields and our backyards and whatever we did, man, and we earned it. You know, it's like, to survive in this hobby and keep it up, it's not a hobby you do lightly like video games or fishing or whatever. It's a pretty serious hobby, and especially given the whole legal stuff, it's serious. If you don't take it seriously, you don't really belong behind the sticks of an FPV drone in this country. And if you do take it seriously and you're passionate about it, be prepared to put in the work, learn how to do it properly, and for God's sake, you know, you have a responsibility to not only protect yourself, but we are only ever as safe and happy and good as the stupidest, biggest idiot among us. So we've got to keep it on the I don't know how to say it, but we got to be careful, man. We got to respect what we're doing. If you don't respect it, don't fucking do it. Don't pick up the quad. If you think it's a joke and you think you're some god, don't do it. Play video games. There's other stuff you can do, you know, whatever. If you do want to do FPV, by all means, dive in, do it, but do it right. Don't compromise, and don't think it's some kind of friggin' joke, because it's not. And don't take my word for it. You know, like, worst case, you'll find out the hard way someday yourself if you screw up, and I don't want that to happen to anybody. So yeah, That's all I got to say, man. I love these 5 inches, but with a heavy heart, I've got to put these 5 inches down, I think, because they just, given the current situation, they just not the best tool for the job. And the small quads, meanwhile, are just getting better and better and better and better and better. So for me, that's where I'm at, man. That's where things are at. That's where I'm at. Really sucks. My 5 inches are always going to stay in my bag. If I got to do serious stuff, like if I have a commercial job or something and I've got to go up a building, or I've got to chase drift cars or do anything really serious, then yeah, I pull out the 5 inch, done. But for the kind of fun, casual flying where I just want to chill and have fun, I'm going to be grabbing the smaller quads. They're just the better tool for the job for me, and I've been having a lot of fun flying them lately. Like even today, this 5 inch now flies gorgeously, and I had a ton of fun flying it, but I can't get it out of my head that this thing is loud. The joggers and people who are going by on their electric bikes, there's no way they're not noticing this loud freaking quad going. And now that the whole city knows that FPV is not allowed in parks and stuff, I could be picked up anytime right now, and I'm just amplifying that chance by flying a loud ass quad. So yeah, whatever, that's my 2 cents, man. I'm not gonna give up on this shit. I love it. We're not gonna give up. We're just gonna evolve and adapt, and there's many ways we can do that. So let's see what happens. You know, the people who really give a shit about the hobby, they're gonna keep doing it. It's no big deal. We've been through worse. So yeah, happy flying, fly safe, and don't be an idiot and do stuff that's like way over your skill level and whatever. Sorry, you caught me in the middle of my vlog.